Good afternoon, Brother Lau, sisters, and fellow YMBA students. Today, I'll present the night assignment for Senior Part 2 YMBA. So the topic is, what is the moral contained in the Dhammapada, stanza verse 1 to 7? Na antalike na samuda maji na pabatanam vivaram parisa na vijati so jagati padeso yata tito mucheya papakama. So this is the Pali stanzas for Dhammapada verse 1 to 7. And I will present it. So the introductions of this Dhammapada is one of the texts which is one of the 15 texts in the Khuddaka Nikaya, that is the fifth collection of the Pali Tipitaka, which is the canon for the Theravada school of Buddhism. And this Dhammapada text contains 36 chapters with a total of 423 short and concise verses that carry deep and important lessons, and they were believed to be said by Gautama Buddha in his 45 years of dispensation or missionary works. The background and moral story for each verse was believed to be compiled and written down by Venerable Buddhaghosa in the 5th century CE. And Dhammapada is widely read by Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike, even till this period of time. So the Dhammapada verse is this. We will translate sentence by sentence. Na antaliki na samuda maje. Na is not, when you translate into English. So the first row is the Pali, and it's in italic, and the second row is the English translation. So antalike is actually locative singular, so it's antalika, which is noun and neuter, which means the sky, atmosphere, or space. Na, not. Samuda maje is actually a combination of two words. One, samuda, and the other one is maja. So samuda means ocean or sea. Maja means middle. Then the second verse is na pabatanam vivaram pavisa. Na is not, pabatanam is pabata. It comes from pabata and is a mountain or rock. Vivaram comes from vivara, which means is an opening, a cleft, a fissure, or a floor. Pavisa comes from pavisati, goes in or enters. So the third line is na vijati so jagati padeso. Na is not, vijati is exists or to be found. So can be he, it, or that kind, which refers to depending on the sentences. Jagati padeso comes from two words, jagati, which means the earth or the world. Padesa means region, a place or spot. Then yata tito mucheya papakama. Yata tito is actually a combination of two words, yata and tito. So yata refers to wherever or where, depending on context. Tito comes from it's actually a past. Tita is a past participle of titati, which means stood or stay or one who stays. Mucheya comes from muchi, and muchi is actually the past tense of muchati, which means became free, and muchati means becomes free. Papa karma comes from two words. It's a combination of two Pali words. One is papa, which refers to crime or evil action. Karma are deeds, actions. These are plural. So in some, when we translate sentence by sentence, we can put it this way. The first sentence is not in the air, not in the middle of ocean. Then the second line is not entering the hole or cave in the mountains. So in this case, cave is more suitable. If we use refers to the mountains. But if we are talking about the rocks, then we can say not entering the opening or cleft or fissure in the rocks also can. Then the third line refers to there is no place in the world or the earth. So in here, it's easier to refer it to the world because I think it's more encompassing. And the fourth line is where he or being can be free from the evil actions or deeds. So these are more like the literal translations, sentence by sentence. So the other way is we can rephrase it, is that not in the air, not in the middle of the ocean, nor by entering the cave in the mountains. There is no place, no one place in this world where being can be freed from the results of evil actions done. So this is the translation. So because he's asking, the question asked about moral, so we have to elaborate. So what the first part of it is my elaboration is that karma is a natural law of cause and effect. And in Anguttara Nikaya 6.63, the Buddha said that every intention is karma. And by intention, one creates karma through the body, speech, and mind. So what it means is that every intentional action creates a potential that will ripen when the conditions are right. Good or wholesome intention or karma leads to good, pleasant, or agreeable outcome. Bad or unwholesome karma leads to bad, unpleasant, or not agreeable outcome. The timing may vary. That means the timing of the ripening may vary. Some may ripen immediately, others may take a longer time, and some could be in other lifetimes. So there is no way or place or where one can escape or hide from the result of the karma when the conditions ripen. The law of karma operates everywhere, just like gravity. It functions regardless whether one believes in it or not. It's not a system of punishment, but a universal and natural law. Thus, in verse 1 to 7, Buddha reminded beings that once an evil deed is done, there is no place for him to escape or hide from the result of that evil act. So what are the moral lessons that we can derive from this Dhammapada, verse 1 to 7? I've broken it down into various categories. So first, we look at the personal responsibility. So we are the owner of our actions. That means the karma. There is no external force that can exonerate or absolve us of our karmic potential. So in Anguttara 5.57, Buddha mentioned that beings are owners of their karma. They own the karma, and then they are heirs of their karma. That means they inherit the karma. They will inherit the karma, and they are born out of their karma. That means the rebirth of each and every being is the consequence of their own karma, and they are related to their karma. Meaning, karma is their relatives. Whether they like it or not, the karma they'll be living together with the karma and have their karma as their refuge. So if a person has very good karma, then the good karma becomes their refuge. Thus, we must be very careful and mindful of what and how we think say and do, so that with wise decision making and choices of wholesome deeds, we may influence and shape our own well-being and future destiny. The Buddha has given us a roadmap, which we normally heard about, Dana, Sila, Bhavana. So how does this relate to the verse 1 to 7? Dana, which is generosity, is to do wholesome deeds, which creates merits of punya. Okay? And sila, or sometimes we call it virtues or virtue, is to help us to abstain from doing unwholesome things or thinking of unwholesome thoughts. It is so, from another perspective, we got the senses. So in a way, it's actually a parami. And the third part is the bhavana, or we call it mental cultivation. And what does mental cultivation do? The purpose is to cleanse or purify the mind. And by doing that, our life becomes more easeful, lighter, and we become calmer. And that's where it's equivalent to the wisdom part, the panya part. So Dana, Sila, Bhavana will lead to panya. And the second moral lessons we can look at is from the moral accountability. So every action has an ethical implications. That means whether it's wholesome or unwholesome, kusala or akusala. That good actions leads to beneficial results and bad actions leads to harmful results. Thus, one himself has to abstain from bad action. For example, abstain through Panchasila, promote and do goods, which actually accumulates their punya kiriya, that means the meritorious deeds. And we can cultivate the wholesome and positive mind states, which is called bhavana. And that is stated in Dhammapada verse 183, which is to avoid evil, do good, and purify the mind. And this is the teaching of the Buddhas. That means all the Buddhas teach this: avoid evil, do good, purify the mind. It sounds very simple, but the essence is actually very meaningful to guide us. So there is no other person can help another. So we have to help our own self. And the third part is the application in our daily life. How do we apply these moral lessons? And it's just a rough guidelines as to how we can apply in daily life. So, for example, the first part is before we act, let's consider, is this harmful or beneficial? If it's harmful, we have to abstain, not do it. If it's beneficial, then we consider further. What are the possible consequences or results it might have? So, is this harmful or beneficial, and what are the possible consequences? It could be there's overlapping. But on the other hand, there are people who are more inclined to looking at the results. Then what are the possible consequences or results may be a good trigger to consider before acting. Would it lead to harm or suffering? Not only to oneself, to others, or both. No? So if it's harmful to oneself, then we stop. If it's harmful to others, if we can also stop, it's also good. But if it's harmful to both, then we definitely need to stop from doing it. The second part in our development is to develop the awareness. Because if we are not aware, then we'll definitely do it like remote control automatically. If we are aware, then we may have a position of being able to identify whether it's harmful or not harmful. So mindfulness can be developed and improved through regular introspection or meditation practice. As a beginner, we can actually frequently make a habit to actually look inwards into our mind. That is introspection. So if we can look into our mind, then we will be able to see or to be able to observe what is actually happening to the mind and what thoughts has arises. So use this mindful mind to observe and understand the mind, the thoughts and the intention especially. Without mindfulness, it's not possible to observe. And if it's not possible to observe, how do we understand the mind? So that's why mindful mind is important. To be aware of our mind is actually important. Then we have to recognize that with thoughts and intentions, one act. So there will be a causal link there. So we are able to recognize that because of the thought that arise because of certain intention, and after that, there are actions that one will do. So intention becomes the seed or the cause of our action. So that way, our awareness will be very meaningful. Then next, we can cultivate good, wholesome actions. And how do we do that? We can do and practice generosity. First time doing may be a bit difficult, but after a while, we become a habit through practice. So generosity becomes very easy. Then we can by doing that, we actually maintain good, wholesome thoughts and wholesome action. And then from there on, we can actually continue on to develop the sila, the ethical life. So it becomes a good way of practice so that our lifestyle, our ethical lifestyle, our lifestyle become very ethical. And then on top of that, we can also develop loving kindness and compassion towards all beings. That becomes very wholesome. And the fourth part will be taking responsibility. For example, when we make mistakes, acknowledge it. By acknowledging, we admit that we have done a mistake. That is the first step to actually rectifying the mistakes. Then make amends where possible. For example, having made a mistake, we apologize. So that way we can amend. And of course, mistakes has been done, let it be, but see what we can learn from the past mistakes so that we can prevent it from happening again in the future. Just like learning in the class, while doing the assignment, we may have done some mistakes, but because of our awareness, our realizations that some of the answers that we have done in our assignment, there were mistakes. So the next time when we do the same assignment, we are able to rectify and prevent the recurrence of that mistake. And the fourth part of the subsection is to develop good habits, good practices, and then as a result, you become a very good lifestyle. Thus, with mindfulness and wise consideration, yoniso manasikara, we actually can abstain from bad, unwholesome intentions and actions, and instead help to generate good cycles of wholesome intentions and good actions. So with sati and yoniso manasikara, we not only abstain the unwholesome, we actually promote the wholesome as well. So conclusion, this verse reminds us that our actions matter and we have great consequences, and that there are great consequences to our life in this very life and future lives as well. So by understanding this, it helps us to live more ethically, morally, and mindfully, contributing to our own welfare. That means in this very life and the welfare of others and the society at large. Because by doing that, we actually live in a harmonious, peaceful way, which will not encroach into other people's life, and it also encourages harmonious living. So with that, I I conclude my presentation. So these are the references that I've used. One is from Brother Rasika's Laos lecture notes. I've also used the Pali Dictionary app. I also refer to YMBA guidebooks, including the book 4. And I also do reference to Anguttara Nikaya and Dhammapada verses. And this round, I actually use a Nobu website to assist me as well. And it has been very useful in that sense to help me to arrange the presentation format. And as well as I also get pointers from talks and Q&A in Wise group that I joined. And this is in the notation. The italic are in Pali. And appreciation. I would like to thank Brother Lau for his generous Dhamma Dana throughout these few years. He has been very persistent and consistent in his Dhamma sharing. I would like to thank Brother T.C. Lim, Metalodge, and all the supporting members who helped to organize, conduct, and facilitate this YMBA course years after years. And also to my fellow YMBA Kalena Mitas, those who are past, that means some of them have dropped out, the present one that we have here, as well as future YMBA students. And I also would like to thank the causes and conditions that enable this proper and smooth systematic conduct of this YMBA course. For example, without the IT, without the Zoom, it would be very difficult for us to have this virtual course. And the fifth is that I'm thankful to this Dhammarupa of mine of being able to attend and present this assignment. With that, I thank you. The end. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
I give back to Brother Lau.
Yeah, good job. Good job. You can present all this in the exam paper. Definitely cannot be less than 20 marks.